everyone, welcome back to another scrapbook process video, and thank you for joining me again today. So for this layout, I did this probably back in March. um, this one, I believe, is again part of Allison Davis, her 6x6 class. So this is not the current class that focuses more on 4x6 photos. This is one that she did, I believe, last year, or I can't remember the time that she did it. Some of you will know what I'm talking about, others maybe not so much. I do apologize. But back earlier in the year when I was not having very much mojo, I was chatting with a friend and kind of mentioned pulling out this class because I never did it the first time around. This is the first time I've ever done this layout. I think I did like 2 or 3 layouts the first time around. But this is the first time I did this one. I'm actually thinking this sketch series really got me inspired to get back into my room quite a bit. So I'm actually thinking of pulling it out again and maybe finding where I am at in the sketch series and kind of maybe continuing on with them. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do. I mentioned in my Year with My Nomies that I have a few different series that I kind of want to work on, and I also need to get up a new Spend Less, Scrap More. So there's a lot that I would like to get done. So we'll just have to see how the next few weeks go and the rest of this year. Anyways, I am going to be doing this. Now, I will apologize now because I don't know where my still shot photos went for this layout. So there are no still shot photos. But at the very end, I mean, you pretty much see the layout for the most part. So you can just kind of pause the video there if you would like, or whatever you'd like to do. But I do apologize about that. But you can kind of see what this sketch basically entails is just a couple 4 or 6x6 papers cut down to kind of triangle shapes. And I didn't really measure. I just kind of cut down. The one thing I will say about Doodlebug's 6x6 pads is that they don't come apart as easily as some other 6x6 pads that I know of. I like it. I kind of like it, honestly, when you open up the 6x6 pads and they kind of just fall out, or, paper pads in general. But this one, and the problem with this one a little bit, the Doodlebug ones, is that it almost kind of, you have to gently tear it out, and then you're left with a tad bit of a torn edge. Now, that torn edge may not bother a lot of you. For me, it's not very obvious, but I'm just so OCD about things like that. So I do like to trim down just a tad bit of that. And when doing that, it doesn't make it the full 6x6 because, unlike some pads where there's a little like 1/4 inch or an extra little bit of paper, these ones are like the full 6x6. What you tear out is part of that 6 inches. So just sharing that little bit of information. So these are pictures of my 2 sons. I believe, was this 2020? I can't remember the year, but when me and my husband were dating, he actually got me this giant Frosty. I mean, you can see it's a pretty big Frosty. And it comes out every year. And it kind of along the way became like a friend. I mean, it's kind of silly to say, but we always joke. I'm like, oh, look, you guys got to say hi to Frosty again. And, kind of play around with that a little bit. And so I love getting photos. I had thought about doing one of these photos with I have a picture of my son who's on the right, the one that just went off to college. I have a picture when he's just barely as tall as Frosty, and he's hugging him. I would say, okay, you better hug Frosty goodbye until next year or whatever. So, there's that too. But this one, I had pulled out Frosty to decorate the house, and I'm like, oh, you guys better say hi to Frosty. So, of course, they had to be crazy kids. I can't get a normal photo of these boys for the life of me, I will tell you. But you know what? I love it, and we're going to laugh about it in 10 years. So I made that title. You can see that I kind of played around and kind of struggled with that title a little bit. I just used my alphabet dies, trying to pull those out a little bit more. Again, lately, did the stack where you kind of make them look like faux chipboard and you add like 3 layers of white cardstock behind it or any kind of, scraps that you have, you can layer behind it. But I really wanted to use that blue. I liked that blue. It was, I think, out of all the 6x6 papers that I had, and I didn't necessarily have to use one of these 6x6 papers, but I had them there, so why not? It's going to match perfectly. Um, so I kind of really wanted that blue to go on the left-hand side, but of course I didn't measure where my photos were or the title before I went ahead and made everything. I just assumed it would fit, so I had to make it fit. The title, so that in that case, I did pop up, because I popped that right photo up with some foam tape. I did have to also pop the word Frosty up again on some foam tape, but honestly, I don't really mind it. I like how it turns out. Plus, it kind of stands out, makes it stand up a little bit enough to have that doodle pop. A lot of you may have seen their new shaker pops they started making earlier this year. And so that's a super cute shaker snowman pop. In the bottom of this snowman, he's got some little white shaker bits. So the popping the letters up kind of made it the same height as that doodle pop. So it kind of worked out a little bit. Now, I believe she has some tags. Maybe she doesn't. I can't remember the sketch, but I know that there's a cluster up here in the top right, and I'm going to kind of get a little frustrated with this layout. I'm super happy with the results, but one thing I will tell you right now that bothers me, but I'm going to leave it the way it is the fact that the word Frosty and the snowman go all the way to the edge on the left-hand side of the paper. And I do kind of sprinkle some things around on the right-hand side, but it doesn't go all the way to the right. So if I were to do this layout again, I would probably at this point cut that white paper down and maybe mat the whole entire thing on another piece of paper or something like that. I don't know if at this point maybe I didn't have any 12 by 12s that would really work. I'm kind of sticking, I don't want to bring in all the colors. There is red, but I didn't really want to bring in greens. This is kind of more a blues and reds type of, there is a little bit of pinks in the paper. And also you might take a look at the fact that, these are pictures of boys and I am adding the pink in there. And really, unless you pay attention, you don't really notice, you don't think, oh, boys and pink. So because it's all about the snowman. Um, so just kind of throwing that little bit in there. So that's kind of, there's not a whole lot to this layout. I am going to get this red heart, and I am going to make it look like Frosty is holding this red heart. And the reason I'm kind of doing this is to fill in that little gap between the snowman and the word hello. I didn't want to cover up my photos too much, so I didn't want to bring that snowman over to the right any more than that. And I can't remember or not, but we can see how the photo goes, or I mean the layout goes. But I can't remember if I add something below that heart to kind of fill in that trap space by the letter A as well. So I just typed up a little bit of journaling that, I've got more. I don't have a ton of photos. I don't take a photo every year of them saying hello or goodbye to Frosty, but I do have a few over the years. So and it honestly, it's kind of neat to see them as they have grown up with, like I said, I have pictures of my guy on the right, who's now taller than me, when he was just the height of Frosty. Frosty is not as tall as them in this photo. They are holding him up. He's about 2.5 feet tall, maybe. So just, throwing that little bit of information in there. So it's just kind of, that's when I say he was about that tall. um, he wasn't this tall that many years ago. The other thing you might notice that I decided to do, since I didn't trim down the whole layout, I did add some red peel-off stickers around as like a border. And I love how that worked. It just kind of pulls that red around the entire page. It was, if you look close enough, you're gonna see that they're not 100% straight, and I'm totally okay with that. I didn't use a ruler. I might have penciled lightly, like drawn a light pencil line and then added the peel off along that. Now that I remember that, I do think I did that. But, and you can probably, if you looked again super closely, you'd probably be able to see where the two peel offs, because they're not a full 12 inches, you could probably see where those come together, but not very well, because if you have peel offs, you know that they kind of line up together super easily, and it's very hard to tell where they are. It's not like lining up two pieces of patterned paper where it's a little more obvious. Just sharing that little bit of information. Now I am working on a bow, which is going to take me a few minutes, and then I'm going to decide to make it a double bow just to kind of pull in more in, I can't think of the word, just to make it more interesting. How about that? That bow on that tag. I do struggle leaving tags. I've seen people leave tags without anything covering that little spot, and I love it when they do it, but it seems like it's one of those things where when I try to do it, it just doesn't look right. Um, so I just added a little bow, and now I'm basically, all I'm going to do is take some sprinkles. These are all their sprinkle shapes for this collection. A couple of those, maybe the extra snowflake pieces on the doodle pops, and I'm going to add them around. And this is what I mean when I said earlier that I tried to bring over that cluster closer to the edge of the page. Again, kind of works, kind of doesn't, but it is what it is, and I love the layout, and the story is told. So I'm also trying to maybe add another cluster instead of just making it from top right to bottom left. I just thought I would try to see if I could add a little bit more, but I don't believe that I do. Nothing was looking right, and so just throwing that little bit of information in there. Again, I apologize, there is no still shot photos. I do love this jingle all the way there, though. I can't remember if I leave him or not. I think I really, oh, I'm pushing it down, so I must leave him. I actually think that's super cute, and that does help. What I think why that works is because it is right along the edge of the paper, and therefore it kind of goes along with everything being on the edge of the paper on the left. So that is pretty much going to be my layout, including a couple of these sprinkles that I'm going to add around. Other than that, I thank you guys for watching my channel. Please hit the like button, and I shall see you guys next time. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them below. All right, guys, see you later. Bye.